We are here with Ihsan Hines. This is the Mind Equity Podcast. My name is Lohan DaCosta, your host. I want to start off just by introducing Ihsan.
So my name is Ihsan Hines, Philadelphia native, a father of three. I'm the president and founder of a nonprofit organization known as My Brother's Keeper Cares. We do work within the community to try to help our neighbors deal with their mental health and prevent suicide.
You want to talk about it in a way that's not depressing, that's encouraging, but it's such a dark topic. I actually had a conversation yesterday about trauma and how it forces us to take a step back from life and everything that we have going on and to really define for ourselves what matters. You went through some trauma in your life. We don't have to get into specifics. What I do want to get into, how has your trauma, how do you feel it's made you a better person?
It's made me more empathetic, more compassionate to other people's struggles. I lost my younger brother, Atif, to suicide, had a plan to take my own life. It also created a fire in me to be able to help other people. The support that I got, I realized that I'm blessed to have the support. I'm blessed that I got connected to therapy and that I got connected to some things that just God put in my life. My own experience has made me more empathetic and compassionate to make sure other people, that they're aware and to get access to the resources that are available and are effective.
How would you say that spirituality has shaped your work?
It's been the cornerstone of all of it. It's helped me with my relationship with God to be more honest with God about exactly where I'm at. My spiritual prayer practice has changed by all the desperate situations that I've had to experience or the trauma I've experienced. I realized the things that were tangible that I got that were care, they actually were from God. So the Bible talks about every good and perfect gift coming from above. So when I get access to therapy, when I find out about resources in my community that just are good for my own wellness, it's God. There's this story people used to say about the man who was stranded at sea and he asked God, send him some help, come help, and he sent those boats. There's different ways that I got some support that I know when I look back that they came from God.
Some of the kids or young adults that are watching this, maybe they don't have a great relationship with God yet. Maybe someone hasn't really introduced that to them. You got to make it cool, because you can be real corny and religious. Some people, relationship with God is that guy at the boardwalk that's you're going to hell if you don't go to church every Sunday, and that's not right. You know what I mean? Everyone has a unique relationship with God. I had an experience where I was able to, I feel as though, talk to God. During this conversation, I was able to ask him what I would have asked on my deathbed. The level of spiritual clarity that conversation gave me and closure. I've had a few experiences in my life where I came really close to death. I struggled with depression and suicide when I was younger, and I made a 360 recovery. Now I'm in the healthiest mental shape I've been in my entire life. I've created a life for myself that I can love. God is in all living things, and it took me out of the mindset of being alone, realizing that all things that have a consciousness are a fragment of God, of God's consciousness. We're all connected through God. The way that I realized that makes sense for me. Anyone that's listening to this, wherever your spiritual journey goes, you might be somewhere where you're hearing this and you're what is this guy even talking about? He sounds crazy right now. But you have to give yourself room to breathe and not to judge yourself. Let's bring this back to My Brother's Keeper and the mission of it, right? You created this. It's still going and it's growing. And you have a book now. And what goals do you have for My Brother's Keeper?
I have some personal goals. I do want to touch on what you just talked about because that's important. That encounter with God, I've had those. And that relationship with God is what shapes the different goals and the blessings that the organization is able to have and be to the community. There was a time when I was really going through a hard spot, going through a really bad heartbreak. I remember a time when I felt like God's hand was on my back and rubbing my back. And that's the kind of stuff that keeps me believing. Because there's times when I can question the scriptures, there's times when I can question the climate that our world is in, whether it be racial, political things, all kinds of things that make me wonder, how can a person that claims this faith do these cruel things? But it's my relationship and the encounters with God that keeps me believing in God and that he also cares. The organization is growing. Our reach is growing, our vision is growing, and I believe that the model that we have here when it comes to using art to communicate with people, using mentorship as a tool to help young people and develop them, I think that these are things that address so many things beyond just mental health and suicide prevention. They prevent violence. They help restore families. It can lead people to a relationship with God. Put food on somebody's plate for lunch. You know what I mean? So it meets a lot of needs. And I believe that the model that it can be placed in other cities, and other cities can allow their different cultural nuances to be part of what we do. The goal of having mentorship and art related activities to bring the community together and create spaces where people leave feeling better than they walked in. You mentioned earlier in this about how suicide can be like something that can be dark and gloomy. The statistics about suicide, they'll depress you. And I used to go to conferences after my brother died, and I would leave feeling worse than I walked in. And I was determined, when we had an opportunity to create programs and events for My Brother's Keeper Cares, that we would create spaces when people leave out, they feel better than they walked in. Poetry allows people to express themselves, but we're determined and intentional about bringing in poets who have messages that aren't just real, but messages that also have hope at the end of them or throughout them. And when we create spaces for the young people, spaces that they can feel safe, heard, and also that they get a chance to just listen without judgment and just be.
That's incredible, man. You've created a space where not only can these kids be heard, but they're actively actually learning how to cope. Activities, right? Guiding your consciousness. It's our responsibility to get ourselves out of a depressed state of mind. If you just let life happen, you could be in a bad situation. It could be not your fault that you're in a negative mindset. You might be in a negative place. What advice do you give to someone like that?
Therapy can be like something that gets you through a moment or a wave, but those activities, if you go to church on Sunday, you get a good sermon or a good message. That could be what therapy is like, something to push you, encourage you, some space for you to be able to just have a good connection, conversation. But what do you do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Those are the things that the messages in the sermons. Same thing with therapy. They should encourage you to be able to say, what takeaways can I now apply in my life? What can I do differently? And we need activities, going for walks, journaling, just picking up the phone and talking to somebody else, prayer, eating a good meal. Things get suggested to us through media. Some of those activities help just to steer people back and give them positive things to develop. One of the activities that I really think is decent, not just for kids, but for anybody, is the game of chess, because it helps you to be able to think a little slower and slow down instead of being impulsive, and to be able to think critically about your next step. Play out the consequences, the risks, the rewards, all of that. And that's something that has really helped me with my mental health.
One thing you said resonated with me, and it reminded me of a conversation I had yesterday. I think that there's two spaces that your consciousness can be in, like when you're alone and in solitude, and then when you're serving other people and in the presence of other people communicating. We put so much pressure on ourselves. The version of yourself, when you're communicating with others, it's such a much more positive headspace than this headspace that we're in when we're alone. When we're completely alone and not communicating with anyone, and I'm not going to say you're a prisoner to your own thoughts. A lot of us men, we wake up and we're providers, so the first thing that we're thinking about is problems. We're thinking about what problems can we solve. We're thinking about the negatives, and we're addressing them because it's our responsibility, and we're very critical of ourselves. The way that we present ourselves to others is kind, very much more healthy than the headspace that we're in when we're alone. And so I advocate for people that struggle with early morning depression, because I think it's very easy to fall into. Just get yourself out of bed. If you wake up and the first thing you do is check your phone, you're making yourself susceptible to negative influences. The moment that you engage yourself in completing something for yourself or for someone else in the service of something greater, your mind is now engaged. You're now active doing something more positive than laying in bed thinking about problems. It's so easy to just be comfortable, and you'll wake up and you're like, man, like comfortable bed, and you just start thinking about your day. You start thinking about yesterday and what you got going on today. And you start mapping it out, strategy. You're like, I'm a responsible, I'm gonna plan out my day. What you're doing is putting yourself in a position to be depressed, because you're locking yourself in solitude and keeping yourself from action, engagement in in something that will bring you to the light. What do you think is missing in maybe some of the kids that you work with that are struggling?
I think that they have a lot of distractions. The kids, we have been blessed to have some really decent young people who really are trying to be better and also just trying to grow and experiment, try new things. So that's decent. The community for a lot of Philadelphia youth, there's so much gun violence just amongst teenagers. So what it takes to be a young person, I can't even imagine because it's different than when I was young. I don't see kids playing catch. I don't see girls jumping rope. Things that used to be just like common things that you would see in the neighborhood. It's not safe out here for them, and it should be. That's a shame. These young people, they have something that's normal to them with social media. Social media was introduced to me as a teenager, as opposed to somebody being a kid with it and having phones when they're young. I didn't get a phone until I was a teenager. It influences the mind, and it gives people a chance to be able to be outside when they're not outside. My mother had the opportunity to protect me and my brother from being exposed to certain things by just keeping us in the home, whereas young people can connect with people around the world just by picking up a device. There are certain things that they just have more access to and things that have more access to them that didn't exist before. So young people with a mind that's not fully developed have access to the whole world. That's a lot. We get a driver's license. We need a license at 18 to be able to drive. You need your ID to be able to drink at 21. Those are things that have age limits on them, but there's no age limit when it comes to social media. Maybe really activating your mind and causing you to feel insignificant, to feel depressed, or even challenged in a way that's very direct. People use social media and dare people to take their own lives, dare people to do things where they compromise their sexuality or expose themselves, all kinds of things. So young people sometimes just need somebody to communicate with. And I see that when they get a chance to communicate, they open up. There's so many misconceptions about young people that I've seen the opposite of. One, as a father, but then also as a mentor. When you give kids a chance to try something, even if they don't like it, they'll be honest with you and tell you if they don't. But if you give them a chance, they tend to try it. You know what I mean? And kids have something to teach adults too. And that's something that I've really learned.
What guidance would you give to parents? We just spoke on social media and you can abuse it, but there's also so many positives about the access the kids have now with technology. I think one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give to a parent is to be up with technology, you know, to really know how to use it the right way and to help your kids find ways to discipline themselves to not abuse it. Let's talk about abusing social media. How have you seen kids do it the wrong way, and how have you seen kids do it the right way?
Philadelphia has a culture of, I don't want to get too deep into it, but we have a hip hop culture where a lot of social media has been used to perpetuate violence, like real life crime. The term in Philadelphia is drill rap. So I think that that is a dangerous way that young people are engaging with social media. But good ways that people are engaging with social media is I see young people talking about mental health and suicide prevention to try and encourage their peers. Seeing kids be peer supports for other people is something that's beautiful. Or people just have lived experience who were able to tell somebody, you know what, you can make it because I've made it. I know a young lady who tried to take her life and she's now turned her platform into something that is an international platform to encourage her generation. And that's something that she's using social media to perpetuate a message of hope to other people. So it's just about what is your message? And young people need help sometimes, just guidance in finding a message. Even if the message isn't about mental health or suicide prevention, maybe they want to cook, maybe they want to play video games on social media, whatever it is, understanding what their message is and having some guidance and support so that they can do things in moderation and with impact. Social media as a core is just a resource, it's just a utility, but people don't know how to use it and we need guidance. Adults need it too. I need it too.
Let's talk about a success story from one of the kids that you work with.
One of the kids that we got in the program, his name is Dean. We have impacted over 40 kids at this point, but the very first day of our program, there was a young man who walked in the program named Dean, and Dean walked in our program as a 13-year-old from an area that's been impacted by a lot of gun violence and just a lot of like poverty, hardships. And Dean is very intelligent. His mother told me when she first trusted us with him to be in our program that he's just a really bright kid. I've seen Dean go for somebody who didn't play chess before, learn the game of chess and become more confident in himself, pick up a golf club and learn to love the game of golf. And then it is now expanded into other areas of his life. Dean is now just more physically fit. He's now gotten engaged in wrestling, which has nothing to do with our program, but he's been introduced to healthy activities that led to him wanting to try other new things. He has been on the radio. He's been part of a conference at Temple University for mental health and suicide prevention. He's been featured in just a couple of other media opportunities to be on the news and talk about goals that he has for the future and wanting to start programs that help kids doing engineering. And he's 14 now. He got in our program at 13, and within one calendar year, he just got engaged in his community. He helped paint a mural for suicide prevention. But even beyond all these things that he's done that other people can see, there's moments where he just takes time to like talk to other people, other kids that look up to him. Dean is over 6 feet tall. He's just taller than every other kid. So he gets a chance to be looked up to and have a level of influence just by walking in the room. And he now is very responsible with his influence and encouraging other people, teaching other people, correcting himself in front of other people. And those are the success stories that play out in life when people can have like accountability. To see a young person hold himself accountable, you're creating a potential future adult, family, community, state. You're just creating a different environment by one person learning how to be self-controlled, alert, and just being able to be responsible.
Wow, that's an inspiring story, man. I gotta get him on the podcast.
Absolutely. Dean would love it.
Let's talk about your book. I don't want you to spoil it for anybody that hasn't read it yet. Just talk about the message behind it.
The book is called Healing is a Process. It's a workbook journal that I created to help other people actually write their own stories. One of the things that happened when I first overcame my crisis moment back in 2018, I was introduced to the activity of journaling. And I didn't have a journal guide. I just had a blank book to be able to write my ideas in, write my frustrations, write my poems, like whatever came up. I decided to create a journal workbook that would help other people get the thoughts out of their head and write their own stories. So the journal workbook is constructed in a way where I share some pages from my own journal and some of my own stories and experiences and poetry, but it's set up in a way that after you read this particular chapter, it now asks you, can you relate in certain areas and write your own story. It's a 28-day journal that's designed to help somebody just overcome a period or just get support in order to make it through the next day. And I think it's important to say, like, it's not just for trauma. The journal workbook is just a way to be able to help people write out their thoughts, plan, heal, move forward. And it's called Healing is a Process. It's available on all platforms. And I have a copy of it right here. This is what you're looking for. It's on Amazon and it's in local bookstores, and it just came out this year.
How can people actually get engaged in your community?
If they would like to help out or just learn more, be involved with MBK Cares, we have a website, mbkcares.com. My Brother's Keeper Cares. You can look us up on any platform, all social media at MBK Cares. You also have different events that are annual that people can just come out and be a part of. Every February we do an event called What is Love, where we talk about love from not just a romantic standpoint but psychological, spiritual ways that we interact with siblings, with our community. And then every year around Suicide Prevention Month in September, we have an event called Discovering Mental Wealth, and we welcome people to just come out to these events. If you want to just help out with the young people, we welcome that. They need more people who want to spend time with them, people who can be trusted and want to invest in the lives of young people. If that's who you are and would like to be involved, we welcome it.
Nice. Can you give one message out there for someone that might be watching that is in a negative headspace? It might not be their fault. What message would you give to them?
Just keep moving forward. And even if it is your fault, just keep moving forward. Like, there's a need for not only the victims of certain things to be able to move forward, but the people who have hurt other people. We all deserve love and deserve an opportunity and deserve to be redeemed. Keep moving forward. Do the next good thing, one foot in front of the other. When the waves of heartbreak and failure hit, let it take its course. Let it be. Ride it out. Trust God. Talk to God about everything that's going on, whether you're frustrated, if you're angry towards God, if you're disappointed in God. Let God know He's big enough to be able to handle things that we say, and He's waiting for us to just communicate honestly and openly with Him. Just keep moving forward. And believe me, I fully understand. I wake up sometimes feeling like I don't want to do anything. I wake up sometimes feeling like life isn't fair and doesn't matter. I'm not better than anybody, and neither are you. You're not worse than anybody. You're not better than anybody. But God has put something inside of you that he wants to support and birth. And every single thing that goes on in our lives is a part of what he's doing with our life. Everything. The good things that he's trying to do in our lives, sometimes it takes some very uncomfortable circumstances to get those things out of us. Do the next good thing and keep moving forward.